Thank you for joining me, Eve, your host for tonight, for another episode of Poopology. I have here with me my co-host Chris.
Hi everyone.
And I have Gordon here with me.
Hi everybody.
And also my other guest, Nilgin, here.
Hi.
So, I'm going to kick things off this week with our poopy moments of the week. So, I'm actually going to talk about one of my poopy moments first, if you guys don't mind. So, a good maybe 15 years ago, I had a little work break in between sort of finishing one place of work and starting a new job. So during this work break, I went on this wild holiday with a friend of mine. Just unexpected, decided, just last minute, we were going to go to Morocco, go to Marrakesh, have a crazy time. We couldn't find cheap tickets to Marrakesh, so we ended up where did we end up? Tangier we ended up in. But we decided we're going to find our way, to Marrakesh regardless of where we landed. So we got on this, we spoke to the guys at the hotel. We were kind of like, how do we make our way to Marrakesh? How do we get there from here? They said, you can get a bus there, but the bus is only at 12 o'clock, so you've missed today's bus. You have to wait now until tomorrow. I was saying to my friend, really? Is there only one bus from here to Marrakesh? Marrakesh is such a big place. There must be more than one bus. So we did a little bit of research online and we saw that there is several buses from where we were to Marrakesh. So we were kind of like, okay, we're just going to go and we're going to just basically see what happens. We turn up at the bus station, and even when we were going there, the taxi driver kept saying, where are you guys going? And we were like, we're going to get a bus to Marrakesh. And he said, no, the bus is gone now, you have to come back tomorrow. And I was like, and I kept saying to my friend, these people are lying, there's no way there's a single bus to Marrakesh from here. We go to the bus station, go to the ticket desk. I'm like, okay, we need 2 tickets to Marrakesh, please. He said, no, the bus is gone. So I was like, okay, is there only one bus? And he said, no, there's more than one bus, but the bus for you is gone. And I was like, why the bus for me? Do I have a specific bus? And the guy's like, no. And they don't speak a lot of English in Morocco because they're obviously an old French colony. So French is the main sort of European language. So English is actually quite difficult to, communicate. So I kept saying, no, Marrakesh. And he's like, no, your bus gone. I'm like, but there is other bus. And he's like, yes. And I'm like, I want a ticket to that bus. And he kept saying, no. And I'm like, but why? Is it full? Anyway, eventually, after shouting at me in Arabic for a little while and shouting at me in French for a little while, I think he was swearing. He basically just gave us some tickets, asked for some money, we paid, and I said to my friend, see, I told you, they keep telling us, there's no other buses. There is a bus. So we're waiting, and you have to kind of wait in one area. You can see all the buses coming. You can see them from quite a while away because it's very flat land. So we saw this very nice air-conditioned bus turn up, and we run up to it. Is it for us? No, it's going somewhere else. Okay, we go back to our seats, and then another one comes, and we're like, is this for us? No, no, no. Another one, no, no, no. And then suddenly we hear this music in the distance. Arabic music, full on blast, and we're like, where is that noise coming from? And you could see this little bus in the distance. And as it got closer, it became more and more apparent that this music was blaring out of this bus with chicken cages on top.
Oh my God.
No windows, let alone air conditioning. And just bars, no windows, and just these metal bars, like a jail, this little tin can. And all these beautiful air-conditioned, very standard for us looking buses came and left. And then this thing turned up. And my friend just looked at me and went, this is why everyone kept telling us there's no bus. You insisted, now we got to get on this thing.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I'm just laughing, and he's shouting and screaming at me constantly, you made us do this, now we got to get on this idiotic bus. We don't even know how many stops we've got to go. And I'm just kind of laughing and saying to him, it'll be fine, look, we're having a local experience. The guidebook told me that it's only 3 hours away, so nothing bad can happen in 3 hours. So anyway, the guy puts our bags in and we get on the bus and we're looking around and there's no seats at all. So I was we went back to the driver and I'm like, there's no seats, where are we supposed to sit? And he literally got up his seat and in Arabic he's like, shouting at people. And suddenly there was like 4 of us sitting on a 2-seater, just on 2 seats. So he just pushed people in, squeezed them up, and squeezed me on with some woman and her children on one double seat, and squeezed him on another double seat. So there's 3 men, him and like 2 other men sitting on a 2-seat. And all the while, all I can hear is his voice behind me, like, you did this to us. Like, we are gonna have to stay on this goddamn bus. And I just could not stop laughing, right? He turns his vehicle on and then suddenly it's like, Allah, Allah, yalla, yalla, this music like screaming. And he's got this little tape. Anyway, we go for 3 hours and we're still like nowhere, basically in the middle of a desert. And he's like, we're supposed to be in Marrakesh by now. This bus is not stopping anywhere. I need a pee. Like, when are we going to get there? What is happening? No one could understand English. We kept going and going and going. It actually took us 8.5 hours to get there.
It did go to Marrakesh.
It did go to Marrakesh eventually, but it was like one of these hop-on buses, like it stops basically everywhere en route. To pick people up and drop people off. But there's no like pee breaks, there's no like it's not like a normal kind of long distance bus. We knew all the songs off by heart by the time we got there.
In Arabic.
In Arabic, yeah. Because it was like Habibi, Habibi, whatever. But he kept turning the tape, like it's the same tape. It was ending and then he's like turning the tape. And then ending is turning the tape.
And that's all your fault.
Yeah.
That was all my fault, yes. So that was kind of a funny experience.
In retrospect.
I mean, I laughed a lot. No, I laughed all through the journey. I couldn't... To me, it was hilarious. I was like, I can't believe this is happening.
Is your friend still friends with you?
Well, his anger made it even more amusing, right? Because he was just so profusely angry. Like, this is why. So, there you go.
You tortured the poor man.
I was expecting you to say that it was some like livestock bus, like there was going to be like chicken coop, like
well,
chickens,
there was
like
chickens. There were chickens.
Oh
there
my
was,
God.
Yeah, someone had a I don't know, a ram or something with like horns.
Are you kidding?
A goat on a string. Yeah, that they were just in the aisle.
I wish there was like footage of this.
Yeah. There was animals, there were people, there were children, and it was like 5 to a seat, and it was pretty chaotic. I mean, it was real chaos, and this loud, obviously, music as well. Just really, really loud. And the reason I kept laughing so much as well, I could almost see ourselves in a movie, in a panoramic.
No, it totally sounds
like
like
empty space, and then you can just see this little bus like going past, and it's like, with like crazy stuff happening inside.
We clearly had a very authentic experience.
Yeah, definitely. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable.
That's the whole point of travel, isn't it? The local experience, rather than just the tourist experience.
Yeah, and I guess that's what makes up some of those poopy moments is when you realise you're somewhere that's completely different. So you don't know how to. I mean, I have a couple of weird local bus experiences like that. The most recent one being in India. On my trip 2 years ago with one of my best friends in India, and she was adamant we needed to. So this time the tables were turned because she was like, "We're getting on a local bus for the local experience. It can't be that bad." Mm-hmm. And I said to her, "You know what? I've had one of these experiences in Morocco. It'll be fine, but I don't know. Everyone keeps telling me that I shouldn't do this, but I think it might be okay." And we got on this bus. Our biggest mistake actually was to get the bus up a mountain. So we were going up Munar mountain to the village on the highest peak. Mm-hmm. And the road up this mountain is basically single lane, but there's vehicles coming in both directions. And there's no no barriers or anything like that. It's extremely dangerous. And the bus drivers are insane. I think if anyone else is already driving insanely. The bus drivers are kind of like 20 times more insane than
They
anyone
are.
else on the road. And the suspension on this thing, so when he was taking corners, I mean, the whole thing is literally tipping over onto what feels like two-wheel. I mean, a couple of times we scraped the top of the bus on the mountain as he's going around. And I'm just screaming at my friends saying, we are going to die. Like, we are actually going to die on this bus. Like, I can deal with chickens. I can deal with loud foreign music. You know, I can deal with sharing a seat with 17 people, but death. You know, I mean, this was like
Pretty
a
terminal.
this was a deathly experience. So I have to safely say I actually genuinely prayed and totally, you know, pooed my pants all the way up to the top. Once we got to the top, my legs were actually shaking getting off the
Oh my
bus. And I refused to get on the bus on the way down. I point blank refused. So I said to her,
How'd you get down?
I'm getting a taxi. You know, at least it's a small vehicle. You know, it's not, and it can
Closer
maneuver.
to the
And
ground.
yeah, and the taxi drivers, even though they're not normal either, they're definitely not as crazy. The bus drivers are like truly crazy. So I was kind of like, I'm getting on a taxi. You do what you want. You want the local experience? I'll meet you at the bottom. If you make it, that is.
It sounds like a sort of end of life local experience. If you
Yeah.
go there, a friend of mine was in South America and he was on one of these local buses, and they were stopped by bandits,
Oh my god.
and he was shot. He didn't die.
What?
Yeah, he was shot. This is some years ago now. And he didn't die, but he brought back the bullet, and the bullet head was tiny.
Oh my
But
god.
they flew him back and everything else, you know. But, you know, he said he didn't even feel it in a way when
Yeah.
it went in. You know, he didn't, it was like shock. What? Someone shot me, you know. And he showed us the bullet. It was ever so small. He survived it, and it didn't traumatize him or anything like that, in the sense that he never...
Did it
that he-
traumatize him?
No, he never travelled again.
You
He
know.
does, but
Yeah.
you know, that's your local experience.
Yeah.
If you go to certain places like South America, you know, and the country you choose to visit in South America at the time, maybe going through one of their coups or revolutions or whatever.
Yeah.
So he was just unlucky, but not quite like yours. I think yours was probably more frightening
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty.
because you
frightened.
lived through it.
Yeah, for 3.5 hours. You know, that's how
Yeah.
long it took to get to the top. And we were both, I mean, even though she was trying to act out like, it'll be fine, after the first hour, even she was kind of like, you know, her face kind of started going white. And she was like, oh, hopefully we're going to be there soon. You know, we were both quite traumatized by the experience. I mean, at one point, some rocks or something had fallen from the top to the middle of the road, so all the cars stopped because they were like one car at a time around it.
Oh my goodness.
So people on both directions had stopped, and this
Too big
bus
to
driver,
move them off the road.
yeah,
Huge.
yeah. And this bus driver kind of was going a bit nuts, and you know, he was shouting out the window at, you know, people. Obviously, we can't understand what anyone's saying, but he was screaming at them, and they were coming out of their cars screaming back at him, you know, I guess saying, like, calm down, this is what we're supposed to do, you know, there's a rock, we're meant to go one by one. And at one point, he did this kind of crazy maneuver to try and get in front of someone, but there's no real room to overtake anyone. I mean, it's literally a single lane. So he was doing some crazy stuff, and all the Indian people on the bus started shouting at him. And it was like us, and then there was a couple with a child who were also a tourist sitting like 2-3 rows behind us. Other than us, who couldn't understand, you know, the 4 or 5 of us that were kind of oblivious and just totally frightened to death. You know, the rest of them were even shouting at him, I'm guess saying, like, stop it, like, what are you doing? He was truly, like, psychotic. I mean, it was a combination of a bad road, a scary mountain, a scary vehicle, you know, that's, like, got some crazy suspension and is clearly very old and anything can happen to it, and a complete Looney Tunes driver, yeah. So it was very, very scary. I don't recommend the local bus in India.
Well, I was going to
Especially not up a mountain, you know, maybe if you know you're going on flat grounds, you know, maybe, yeah, but...
No, I was going to ask you a question, Eve. Like, so, do you think you'll go on a local bus anywhere in a foreign country?
Yeah,
after these.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is an element of,
Yeah.
funness to it, as Gordon was saying, having the local culture. But I think you just need to, be a little bit more aware of maybe the advice that you're reading or getting, and I think in Marrakesh, it was funny and whatever, it was livable. In India, we should have kind of taken note of some of the, the tourist messages and stuff, because you can go into lots of backpacker sites and they give each other advice on how to do stuff, and some of them had said there's a lot of traffic accidents and bus accidents and people die, it's a real thing there. So don't recommend this type of travel. You're better off on trains, and you're better off on this, and this type of bus or this type of transportation is cheap as well. Obviously the local bus is the cheapest, but I don't think anyone backpacking from a foreign country in India has a budget problem, because even the posh expensive stuff is still cheap for us coming from Europe. So doesn't make a massive difference. You don't need to pay 50p to go up a 3-hour journey. If you pay £3, it's not gonna hurt your budget. So if you go in a slightly different vehicle, so it was that kind of. So the train journey, I mean, that was interesting too, but nowhere near. I mean, the bus was deadly. I definitely will not travel like that again.
Mental note: no buses in India up a hill.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to India, definitely not up mountains anyway. Strictly unadvisable. Should be a health notice.
We went to Tunisia a few years back. It was for Christmas, when we thought it was going to be sunny and everything else, but of course that was stupid, because the Mediterranean is very cold in winter. And we chose the one year where it snowed, hailed, rained, everything, and there was no sun apart from the last day at the hotel. But what I really wanted to do was go to ancient Carthage, which is in Tunisia. And the journey was all day. And by the time we got there, it was the evening. We only had half an hour because they had to make all their way back. So we spent the entire day driving, and they stopped at their friends' restaurants where we had to eat. And then we went on, and we were half an hour, and we didn't even see the whole of the place, and we had to come back. So, and that was an organized hotel trip. It's a sort of, do you get local transport and make your own way and have those sorts of experiences, or you go on the organised thing and you take your chance, and it's just a luck of the draw, really.
Yeah.
For both.
Totally.
Yeah. Take advice from others, I think.
Moral of the story.
Anyway, so Gordon, tell us about your poopy moment.
All right. Well, this is years ago when I was still training as a teacher. It's about 1975, I suppose. And we used to take children to a forest just outside York, Helmsley Forest. And these were children who were quite deprived and everything, and so we used to take them camping for a week and that sort of thing. And when we got to this particular site, there was a river by the side, and hanging over the river was these huge branches. I think it probably was an oak tree, but some big tree, whatever it was, I can't remember. And it had a rope with knots in it and everything else, and all the kids were flying on this thing and jumping on it and coming back and landing on the bank and everything. And I think there's a bit of a mad showing off streak in me, and I did the same. I grabbed it, swung a bit, and then forgot that it was going straight into the tree. And I smashed straight into it with my shins. Now, if you've ever had anything hit your shin, it's excruciating, because there's very little between bone and flesh. So it was so painful, and I was looking, I'm enjoying this.
Just act it out, it'll be fine.
And I fell in the water because it was so painful, but it gave me a chance to go
underwater.
Oh yeah, it was. But no one really noticed except when I crawled.
Couldn't walk for the next week.
Yeah, no, I mean that's one of many, so we'll stick with that one for the time being.
So, Chris, tell us about your poo-poo moment of the week.
Sure. So mine actually has to do with a local bus too, coincidentally. But my local bus experience, poopy experience, is here in London.
Oh.
And I have to preface, guys, I'm not a bus person, and all of my best friends know I'm kind of a bus snob. Like I don't do buses. And one of my new friends here were telling me, but Chris, but the buses in London are a totally different experience. It's like, it's not like the type of bus that you think, you're getting in LA where I'm from or New York. It's normal people. And if you actually like sit on the second top, it's like riding a tourist bus, They're like, just try it. I'm like, okay. So I actually ventured my first experience earlier this week on a Tuesday, and I was actually on my way to a very important meeting in North London, Edgware, and it gave me a bus route, and I was like, okay, I'm early enough, I'm gonna do this. So I got off Edgware, and I guess because it's the end of the Northern Line, there's a lot of buses there and lots of different numbered stations for whatever bus. And before I got onto a bus or attempted, I text my girlfriends like, you guys, big moment. I'm going to ride a London bus today. Kid you not. Okay. And then even though Google Maps clearly indicates like the exact time of arrival, which again, my friends like informed me all about this, and it tells you what exact location, it's still over my head. I'm a little confused. There's lots of buses. I ask a gentleman. Anyway, so now I'm at the right stop. I think section F or something.
Yeah.
And it said the bus arrived, number 288. I missed it somehow. I'm like, all right, the next one arrives in 3 minutes. And now clock is ticking. I have an important meeting, a prospective client. Okay, I think I can still make it. So another 288 comes. I'm standing there. I haven't moved. And then the bus just like drives by, like this.
And you're watching it waving.
I'm watching it waving
with a sad face.
But but listen. So not only am I just watching it, but I'm like, so I'm kind of chasing it. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I have 4-inch heels on.
Oh my God.
And but the bus stopped. I'm like, oh, okay, I can make it. And I got up to the bus, and the bus driver, I'm thinking, okay, she's looking at me. She's going to let me in. Straight on, just looked at me like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I probably wanted to like scream some obscenities at her, but I need to be in a Zen moment. So luckily I was able to Uber, and I got to my meeting on time, which was a miracle. But the moral of the story is, afterwards I text my girlfriends, you know what? I clearly am not a bus person.
This confirmed it.
I tried. At least I tried.
I mean, Chris, if you can't survive a bus in London, you're never going to survive it in Marrakesh or India.
Oh, God. Hearing that story, I don't know. I would have, like, jumped out of the bus window if there even was one.
Well, you would have gone straight down a cliff. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to go.
But, yeah. Can't do buses. I'm sticking to the tube.
Good motto. Are you ready?
Well, I think it was 1986 in June. I went to Italy to have a holiday break for a week. That was the second year which I was living in UK, where supposedly know London very well. Unfortunately, I wasn't. So a midnight flight arrived Gatwick, and I see the train to London, and I was rushing. There was my friend with me as well, so we rushed down and we got into train. We were so happy train is packed because that was the last train to London. Everything is perfect, and I just said, okay, I made it, so I don't have to pay for taxi. So we didn't realize where we are going. We obviously train stopped, so we said, okay, we are in Victoria, just rush to the taxi rank, get into the taxi because we wanted to be the first. We didn't want to wait after a wonderful holiday. We didn't want to wait in the taxi rank, and so we take the taxi, and I said to the driver, please take us to Sutton. And I give the address. He just said, oh, it's too far. It's going to cost you £150. I said, no, I know where the Sutton is. This is just down the road. I was just trying to explain where it is. And he said, I know where it is, but I can't remember, but that's that miles. And that's what it's going to cost. And he then said, why you came to Brighton? I said, what do you mean? Aren't we in London? We took the wrong train. We didn't realise. And the train ended in Brighton. So that's why he was just saying it's going to cost us hell of a lot of money.
Oh my God, can
So
you imagine going to Sutton in a taxi from Brighton?
Oh my God.
We get off from the taxi. I mean, he was such a gentleman. He didn't charge us.
Yeah.
He probably felt sorry for us. By that
Most people would.
Oh my God.
By the time it was 2 a.m., there is no train to...
It was 2 a.m.
Yeah,
What
no
did
train
you
to
do?
London. Well, we stay in the car in the train station.
You
We cuddle each other. We were already so tired. We tried to sleep. And there was other homeless people as well.
Other homeless people, in addition to you.
The only difference is we had a very posh luggage. They don't. They had a sleeping bag. We don't. So, And they were so nice. They offered us a bottle of wine, those which they were drinking.
Oh, wow.
And they said, would we like to join them?
Oh my God.
And
You had a
at
party.
that time, well, I was only 26 anyway. So after a wonderful week in Venice, but another thing in Venice, whenever we walk on the street and enjoying the view and the history and everything, young man's constantly coming and asking cigarettes from us, and we were not smoking. We didn't understand why constantly those Venetians asking cigarette. Well, eventually we found out that was the way they tried to communicate with us. It was
was
too
like a
late.
pickup line,
Yes,
like
it
a
was.
chat-up line.
But the problem is, it was too late. We found out this at the end of the holiday.
Ah,
If we
okay.
would have known before,
You could have had a
rather
couple
than
of
giving them
boyfriends.
cigarettes,
Venetian boyfriends.
You could have taken whole boxes of them.
maybe that's why. Since then, I definitely want Italian boyfriend, but no luck so
my-
far.
She does have a bit of an obsession.
You
with
have a thing for
Italian
Italian men?
Yeah. Okay, so today's subject matter, because we have obviously some more mature or debatably mature guests with us
And
today,
Evie is looking at her mother when she says that.
is basically about being kind of 60 plus, being older, and how your experiences and your thoughts and your life kind of changes with that. So the reason I was thinking about this quite a bit recently, I guess, is because obviously my mum a couple of years ago turned 60, and I am myself getting older, Uzma's getting older, so I've become a little bit more maybe sentimental or interested in these differences. I've become more aware of, how even my mother has changed in her thinking or her behaviours from 10 years ago to now.
I hope it's in a better way.
Yeah, definitely. And how I have changed myself. So, but to get ready for today's episode, I was doing a little bit of research online. So I had a look at ageuk.org, and there were some interesting facts. So apparently there are now 12 million people aged 65 and above living in the UK. And the life expectancy has increased, and babies born in 2018 are expected to have a life expectancy of 80 for men and 84 for women. So clearly we're an aging population, if I could use that term. It is expected that 23% of men and 29% of women born in 2018 will survive to 100 years old. And 12 million, by the way, is 18% of the total population, because it's 65.6, I think, is what the National Office for Statistics says. So actually 18% of our population is over 65. So that's quite a large portion. That's a large portion. So all this basically means that, we just have a larger, older
Well, I'd like to ask you a
population
question
and going to help.
of you, because one of the issues about growing older is that you become invisible.
Ah.
So how do you perceive people who are over 60 or 65? Do you notice that they're 65 or over, or do you just not notice, full stop?
That's interesting. I mean, for me personally, I definitely noticed. I don't know if when you say you become invisible, whether that's actually people of our age group that fail to see, or whether it's slightly younger age group that fail to see.
I don't even
What do
know
you-
whether it's...
Can you expand on what you mean by invisible
Well,
here?
because when you're young, everyone worships youth, don't they?
Yes.
It's the sort of lingua franca of everyone in the world that you're young, and those are your salad days, and these are the years in which you get opportunity. People look for you to achieve things and make your mark and so on. Then you get a bit older and you're climbing the ladder and so on, and that's where all the potential difficulties arise, because that's when complications of relationships and are cemented a lot of the time, and maybe families come along and all sorts of other things complicate that ambition. So not for everyone perhaps, obviously. And then you get to a point where, as Eve was saying, you're 60 or above, and who are you then? I went into this library cafe in Blackheath opposite the station yesterday just to see what it was like, and it was full of silver-haired people like myself, although I have to say in my defence I've been grey since 11. So it's never been an issue for me to have silver hair or anything like that. And then you go into the cinema in the middle of the day, and it's full of, again, older people who have the money to be able to go and do these. Not everyone, again, but a lot. And then you go to an art gallery or a museum and so on, and you've got these large groups of people who are of that age, and you, as an older person, begin to notice that more and more. I think you don't not notice younger people. In fact, you do notice them much more. I find that I'm finding it difficult to gauge age now.
Yeah.
And if you watch any American teen soaps or whatever they are, they all look as if they're 25,
Yeah.
masquerading
Yeah.
as 18.
Yeah.
When do they actually get old in America?
Yeah.
But, it's so invisible doesn't mean that you cannot be seen, but you don't represent that sort of that thrusting, moving forward age. And there are people who are that age who are still working. I am, you are,
I am.
and I'm 66.
I mean, you may not be representing that type of person any longer, but that doesn't mean, when you say invisible, do you mean undervalued? So, because to me, I don't think that becoming older means you're less valuable. In fact, quite the opposite. There is a lot of knowledge, information, experience that is really valuable coming from an older person.
Yes, but you're absolutely right. But there's no socioeconomic value in that necessarily in the age and experience. Yes, if you're working, there is. And, if you've got grandparents and everything and extended families and you all get on, that's a plus. And you've got that wisdom and experience to hand down and to educate younger people. I don't think it's that you suddenly are erased, but you are moving into a completely different sort of mind
Zone.
frame,
Yeah.
mindset. How you live is very different. You don't go out drinking every night as you might have when you were 18, 20, whatever it is, or quite a lot. But I think you can still have a good social life, travel, do all sorts of things. It's not that you don't exist, but I think there is a sense that you are more of an observer.
All right. Okay.
Then-
Then a participant.
Sometimes I don't feel it negatively personally,
Yeah.
but I can see that there are older people who can be on the sidelines as they're old, they're doing their thing, but it's not really part. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly.
I don't know. In my experience, I definitely don't look at the older generation demographic to be invisible at all. And I think, to your point, Eve, with the statistics of people having greater longevity, people are living longer. So 60s, quite frankly, could be the new 50s. People are accomplishing so much more, working longer, feeling younger. And so, no, from my perspective, recently, actually, I was on the tube, and this impeccably dressed woman caught my eye. She had this fabulous red coat, a scarf, a hat, white sunglasses, and she was with also an equally impeccably dressed gentleman. And I snapped a picture with her. And next thing I know, when we sat down, they were seated right in front of me. They were clearly in their like 70s. And I had to compliment her. Like, I love the way you look. And next thing you know, we're having this fabulous conversation. She's like, thank you so much. I love dressing up and spreading happiness. And people always ask me if I can take pictures of you and so forth. So, and I think like the way this woman was still having this youthful spirit, like clearly did not make herself invisible at all.
Yeah, I think some of it is probably how you feel, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that Mum has a much more active social life, than I do. She gets up and makes more of an effort on, looking good and being fabulous than I do. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm too tired. I'm going to go to the office in my gym gear today, and I leave the house looking frumpy, and she says to me, what are you doing? Dress up, put some makeup on. Why do you look like this? And, every day she gets up and makes way more of an effort, than I do. And I think that affects how you feel, no?
Well, I personally, obviously my experience is different than Gordon or
My observation, not experience.
Yeah, observations. It's just, I just last year I hit 60. I'm 61 and a half now. And I feel like this is the best time of my life because I have no responsibility for my children. They are grown up now. So I have more free time. I'm working full time. And I make more time for my friends. And I enjoy every moment. And I guess I learn to forgive people. I learn to move on, and no grudge, no anger, and you see that life is actually passing so quickly, so you have to try to enjoy as much as possible. Because I have to be honest, even though I said I'm 61 and a half, but my brain, yes, my body feel that, but my brain doesn't accept it. I still feel like I'm at uni. I still, when I go for shopping, I still look for miniskirts. I still
you do.
leather trousers.
I love it.
The other day she said to
You
me,
are my spirit animal.
she said to me, I saw a pair of leather trousers today, and I was like, oh my God, Mum.
Nilgün,
I'm buying
you are
it.
my hero.
But she just said, oh, really?
But why
Really,
shouldn't
Mom?
you do that?
No, I'm
Absolutely.
That's how I dress up. Before, when I was young, I always used darker color, navy, dark brown, black especially.
Yeah.
Now I have a silver hair as well, like Gordon, but I wear red, blue, I put a lot of jewelry, accessories, scarves, and my body ache maybe, but I have more active social life than my two daughters, who is youngest is 25, eldest is 40. But my social life is much, much better than that. I actually feel sorry for them.
Did not see that one coming.
Honestly,
why do you feel sorry?
Because when you look at them, they just
work too hard.
Maybe yes, they work too hard, but they also feel so tired. And
But did
So
you
would
do
you
exactly the same when you were that
no,
age?
I was always crazy. I was always absolutely
Yeah, I know
crazy.
that.
You know that.
I know.
I work very long hours.
Yeah.
But I made sure I enjoy in the evenings as well, or the weekends as well. And I do exactly the same now. And I value my time. I value my friendships as well. I value
good
my
word.
time
Yeah.
more. Maybe before, time was so easy, isn't it? It's just, you didn't see it's a waste.
Yeah.
But now, I just said every minute, if I don't do anything, reading books or watching any documentary or talking to a friend, talking to old friend, my old friend, and
As she points at Gordon.
Sorry, what did you say?
Or meeting up, having a laugh, having an argument, going for holidays. It doesn't. I do understand. Obviously, there's a lot of financial issues as well. But there is one thing in United Kingdom is fabulous that you can make your sandwich, you can go for picnic, so it doesn't cost you anything. There's a lot of free activities in South Bank Centre, musics, a lot of free like
Galleries and
galleries. So-
everything.
Yeah.
So
Museums,
basically,
yeah.
for you to live your life, you don't need the money, and
No,
for you to live your,
exactly.
dressing up, you don't need money. You use old
I mean,
clothes and get
we're
like
very lucky as
colourful.
well because we've got those freedom passes, so we don't have to pay within.
What's the Freedom Pass?
to
Well,
travel.
to travel free.
They travel free.
within London.
Oh.
If you're 60,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Free travel
See,
card.
Eve, this is why I also need to be living officially in the UK.
well, get here soon because who knows
Yes.
how long this is going to last.
Yeah, like,
Well, that was the
Yeah.
best present when I hit the 60.
Yeah.
The same day my freedom
Yeah.
card came.
It's fantastic, isn't
you,
it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go anywhere. As I said, just
yeah.
do pack lunch. Get,
so
get
Mum
your
had this
tea.
target that she was basically going to get off at every stop on the Underground line, just to see what was there. Because there's a whole bunch of stops.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
other than places that you always go to or
Yeah,
you need to go
exactly.
to, there's a whole heap of stops you would have never have probably have got on or off.
Yeah, I
Well, I'm
mean,
So
taking that
she's
from you.
just
That's a
kind of-
cool idea.
That's what me and
When
my
you-
friend is the same age. That's
Mhm.
every Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
That's what we are going to do. We started over every Wednesday.
Yeah.
We take like Jubilee line. We started because I mean I've been living here 32 years,
Yeah.
but never been to Upminster, never been to Chiswick. I don't know where Chiswick
What a
is.
great way to
You know,
rediscover your city.
Absolutely, and see what is there. Go to local maybe coffee shop.
pubs,
Builders
lunch,
Coffee.
all that sort of stuff. Oh yes, we've been
And-
to
and-
Builders Coffee cafes and everything.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with builders.
well, from your point of view, that's it's not an issue.
It's just, it's,
No, but
Yeah.
I seriously, we have a favourite cafe. That's what is termed a builder's cafe because builders and manual workers tend to go in those sorts
Yeah.
of places. And they are fantastic. The food is great and you always get lots of it for your money, don't you?
and very fresh.
Very fresh, made there. And I don't know what it is about their cups, their mugs of tea. It doesn't taste like anything you get anywhere else. It's really good tea. And they just put the tea bag in and put it in front of you. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just this sort of mystique that we have about it. But we've done that, or just go for
Yeah,
a
me and
coffee
Gordon
or
meet
whatever.
up
Go to the cinema.
Regularly, we go to cinema like silver screen. It's £5, but also
They get
Oh,
cheap at
biscuit.
cinema.
But you get the biscuit and the tea.
She basically
Well, no, you get
refuses
more-
to go
you can
to
get
the
lots of
cinema with
biscuits,
me.
actually.
So sometimes I'm like, I want to watch this film. You want to watch it too? Let's go Saturday. She's like, I will never go on Saturday. I'm like, why? She says Tuesdays or Wednesdays
Or
or whatever it
Thursday,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday.
it's £5 silver screen plus I get a tea and a biscuit. And I'm like, I'll give you a tea and a biscuit. No, I want my free tea and biscuit. I'm like, oh
That's
my
not
God.
wrong. Recently, I found a local community center. They do
Painting,
watercoloring,
painting, yeah.
So I said to my friend, and now we are going. We started last Wednesday our first class. So I arrange my working pattern according to my social life as well.
Well, I think everything you said is just a mindset. Like you
Yeah.
said, you don't feel mentally that you're defined by your age. And I think that's what's keeping you so young and enjoying life. Like if you were to tell the younger demographic and the audience here, like what to look forward to in your 60s, like is there something you guys would say besides, like I think you mentioned earlier, you have more freedom?
I guess what
People
I
fear
can
getting
advise
older.
is just work very hard when you are younger and you get where you want to reach, what is your focus is. But then don't also kill yourself. I mean, I remember that I work, like at the moment I'm working 12 hours a day anyway, but when I was young, when my children young, I again work 15 hours. And I thought when I work 15 hours, which was a
Wrong thought process.
well,
Yeah.
absolutely. You can do more. No, because your body is actually getting tired. After a certain period, you don't progress anyway. But work hard, try to reach wherever you want to reach. And don't be scared. Life is too short. Don't
Exactly.
take it so serious. I always advise my daughters, don't take life so serious, because it is not. Because where you are sitting and where I am sitting, you will come here so quickly without even realizing.
Very true. Very true.
Well, that's what I was saying at the very beginning. It sort of creeps up on you, and you don't know, your body, as you said, notices the changes because you want to do things you used to do. And, being aware of that's not a bad thing, but I agree that it's an opportunity to do lots of things that you didn't have time to do because of whatever you were doing in your job or whatever, or you didn't make the time.
So did you have some expectations or thoughts about what it was going to be like before you got, over 30? Over 60, sorry, over 60. So, in your head, did you have some kind of thoughts about what it's going to be like? And then when you got there, was it different to what you expected?
Well, when I hit 40, I had a lady friend from America, and I was constantly saying, "Oh, I'm getting old, I'm getting old." And she was so cross to me, and she was 50 years old, and she said, "Your attitude is wrong. You are young, you are nothing, compared to me." And she was constantly saying, "I start learning living my life when I hit 50. I didn't understand that, because I absolutely have the same experience when I hit 50. You realize your relationship is more important than money, your work, your title. I mean, I can give you my titles. It's just so long paragraph titles of them. That doesn't give me anything. That doesn't show you who you are, what your character is, what you gain in life. That only shows you what is your speciality or knowledge of specific subject. In terms of relationship, and when I hit 50, I start phoning my cousins that I didn't phone last 20 years and re-establishing our relationship with every friends. And even if I was upset to them and I stopped talking to them 15 years ago, I phone them, I forgive them. And from that to now here, and I have to be honest, I think 60 was great.
Really?
The only thing is, I wish I would have actually been retired. I unfortunately still need to work 6 years to be able to retire. But it's best, yes. I mean, we had a good laugh with Gordon every time I see him. I have good laugh with all my other friends, and probably I still have mortgage, by the way.
There's still some stress.
No, what I am saying, I don't want the listener to think that mortgage free,
Having a life of luxury,
luxury.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, it's not. I still have mortgage. I pay council tax. I pay, electricity and huge
I think
huge cost.
for lots of people, even over the retirement age, cost is an issue. I don't think there's that many
definitely.
retired. You're not yet retired and you haven't quite yet hit the retirement age, but people that have, most of the time their state pension isn't enough to cover their costs, and lots of people have financial issues. So I don't think that I think pretty much
But
the
young-
scenario
US
for
too,
most
for sure.
people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
It's not
young people doesn't actually look at like that. They said,
I
okay,
think more
you
young
made
people
your
are
money,
now.
you had retired, that's okay for you to go away. No, it is not. It's actually hit you more, because when you are older, when I was younger, I didn't need cleaning lady. Now I feel like
You need help.
That could be really
Yeah.
nice if
Yeah,
I have, someone to help me, or
You need more help and you have less money, basically,
Yeah,
is what you're
exactly, yeah.
saying. Yeah.
But
And
still,
yeah.
it doesn't stop me enjoying my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you have to enjoy
That's so
what you
important,
have,
exactly.
really. Doesn't matter. I can always give you example like Princess Diana. She was living in a palace, but she was the most unhappy person. So it doesn't matter whether you have title, you have money, you have powerful job. As long as you learn to enjoy what you have, that's the main thing.
So that's
Can't agree with you
interesting
more.
because you're saying that, obviously getting older, need more and have less money, but actually your outlook it is so different that it's more about enjoying, you know, your life and making the most of it and being happy within it. So you don't even care that much that, you know, that everything isn't perfect, you know. And I think at a younger age, you know, we want things to be, we try to work hard, you know, try to figure out how we can make it better or how we can make it more perfect, how we can have more money for certain
acquire
things.
more things.
Yeah, or acquire
Always.
certain things, or have a certain fit into a certain profile, or whatever it is. I think we have a more feeling of, you know, we have to do these things, and
Tick
if we're
off
not
these
doing
boxes,
them,
don't you
yeah,
think?
Yeah, we all
we're
had
unhappy.
That.
Yeah.
We all had
But
that.
it's the fact that you're happy, regardless of whether you have it or not now, you know, whereas...
No, but that's.
But I was there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We all did that. We all tried to tick boxes.
Yeah.
But now where I am sitting, you realize
It doesn't
ticking
matter.
boxes
Yeah.
doesn't make any difference. But I used to hate talking peoples. I never talk any people, you know, unless they've been introduced to me. Most of the people said, I
Oh
was
my
so
God. Don't
smart.
listen to her. She's lying. She talks to everyone. She
No, I
knows
talk
the
to
names, the last names, the children's names, who they're married to, what jobs they do on every human being on our street. And then she comes to me and she says, you know what, David, he said to me, I'm like, who's David? And he's like, the guy at number 22. And I'm like, there's a guy at number 22? I've never even seen who lives in number. Yeah, so he said to me, he's got a builder, like, if you need some help. Oh my
But
God.
it is
like,
now. It wasn't like
It wasn't like that when you
before.
were younger.
No, now I sit at the bus or underground and I talk. I mean, I went to a holiday in Italy. I couldn't find
Oh, another
any
one, not
no
the bus
boyfriend
trip
yet,
one.
but I talked to everyone, you know, everyone.
Yeah.
It's just, it was fantastic. I really enjoy, and
Yeah.
I try to enjoy as much as possible. Maybe where I am sitting, I don't count myself old, but old age is closer to me. So my time is really very limited to enjoy. That's how I feel. But when I was sitting on your chair, I thought,
you have
60,
loads of time.
wow,
Yeah.
it's so distant. So I think that is why you realize you are coming to a dangerous age, isn't it, Gordon?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, when you, as you get older anyway, health issues then become more of a prevalent and, you know, in your face issue. Can do. Some people are blessed and they're very well, and they go till the end of their lives being very well. But you know, you do get ailments and everything else. I think everyone has an expectation, because that's part of the ambition thing, isn't it? You know, where you want to get to and the mark you want to leave, or whatever it happens to be, or maybe not. I didn't have a plan. I think my mother actually filled in my application form to go to college, and I went to York and just drifted, you know, and got it. And everyone was getting jobs when I was in my last year, and I thought, how did you get that job? Didn't know how they were doing it.
Yeah.
And I left college and I did a number of different things because I didn't actually want to teach. I never wanted to teach. And I sort of drifted into it. It was a good thing in that it gave me my own pension, you know, my professional pension. And your point about the state pension is absolutely right. You know, you couldn't possibly survive on that. So there are a lot of people out there who are, you know, very, very poor now. But I think there is the thing about the way in which young people are now being guided and taught much more about their future and what to expect and pensions and all that sort of stuff. And there are lots of programs and helplines for young people to think about these things. And I think they're much more clued in than we probably were. I think unless you've got that sort of background of parents who've given you that sort of incentive about money and your future and being sensible in certain aspects, doesn't mean you don't live. You can't be wild or different or whatever. But a lot of people won't have that. But I think one of the things about teaching or the sort of profession Ilgun's in, or you know, anyone who's in those sort of medicine or whatever, lots of those sorts of professions, you can't keep going and going till you're 70. There's a sort of burnout. You've got to have something else as well. And I paid to retrain myself as a therapist in order that I could retire early from teaching, but not retire, So I'm still seeing clients. So I think being active, whether it's going to museums or whatever it is, but your mind is the important thing.
Yep.
Because and your body, it's not a separate thing, obviously. But you have to keep your mind going. You have to be positive about things. I agree with everything Nilghan says about, it's the attitude. And I don't think that I'm invisible, but I can see that there are people who become invisible because they cannot afford to do these things. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily negative, it's just that they haven't got the opportunities anymore or never had, who knows. But no, I think it's great. I go to museums, we go to the cinema, or as we did the other few weeks back, to Lisbon for a holiday, and I do lots of other things with other friends and so on. And I think it's great. It's a great opportunity to have your own routine. And in fact, when you do something like therapy and you're doing your own thing and you're running your own business, you have to be more organized and cognizant of that sort of thing than if you didn't have anything to do at all and you were just doing the mainstream job that you were doing before. So I think that just because you've retired doesn't mean you've retired from life.
Exactly. Oh, I love the way you put that.
And I think you have to keep going. And although Nilghan won't necessarily believe this, I've listened to her many, many times, and she speaks a lot of wisdom and a lot of sense. And I'm not saying anything nice again after this. That's your one and only today.
Wow. One for the year.
That's my day.
You can put it on the table just slowly. God, honestly, I thought the 60 plus was supposed to be a mature conversation. Clearly, this is not going to
You
happen.
don't take life serious after
No,
60.
you see,
I
the thing is,
understand.
I
I'm
understand.
not always mature, but I think it's verging on infantile.